Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of a controversial video, but it should be fun, right? There are going to be those people that act big brain in the comments, like they understand everything. That's fine. Those aren't the people I'm talking to. I'm talking to my viewers that want to watch an interesting power scaling video where we kind of go over how this author potentially broke scaling. Now, a lot of times you'll see me talk about and you'll see other scalers talk about, sometimes I don't think authors really understand what they're doing when it comes to scaling. They don't understand the implications. This is for sure the case with this. So with that in mind, this video is an explanation on how Stephen King as an author potentially broke the power scaling game. If you like videos like these where I explore these concepts and ideas, evaluate them, break down super OP stuff, let me know. This is to be a fun video, but I am going to explain how he used scaling in his verse and in his writing and why it doesn't make sense. So if you want to become a member real quick of my community server with Chuck, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll explain how you become a member. It definitely saves you a lot more than going straight through YouTube, so definitely hit me up and I'll give you my Discord link. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's begin. Now, what is the problem with King scaling? Well, I think it's four major parts that I'm kind of going to go over and talk about. Part one is the idea of the relativity of the concept of size. So this is best explored in an exchange that takes place between two characters in the King verse, the gunslinger and the man in black. The man in black is almost like a demonic figure, so to speak, and the gunslinger, his main purpose is to complete his quest, chase him across, defeat him, right? Well, at one point in their exchange, the power of the cosmology of their verse comes into question. And when this happens, the man in black says, look, I don't even like having conversations like this with people because they don't understand. And Gunslinger's like, I'm big brained. What don't I understand, homeboy? And he said, look, imagine how you look at a blade of grass and how tiny an atom is compared to that blade of grass. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but this is basically what they're saying. Now, the concept of size is the idea that something out there is always bigger than you. So, even to an outerversal concept, that looks like an atom would to a blade of grass, to a person stepping on that blade of grass, and so on and so forth. The idea of being bigger, transcending, having more size, any of that is in this verse. Man in Black said he doesn't like explaining that concept because people can't understand it. Which makes sense they can't understand it because it's not logical, which I'll touch on later. So that whole concept of size is incorporated in the power structure and the scaling dynamic of this verse. The reason that is super important is because that's not the strongest concept in the verse. In fact, this wild notion that the concept of always transcending, always being bigger, always being more exists, this is just one idea that resides in the Dark Towers. Yes, when I was young, when I was reading King books here and there, I loved reading random King novels. I read some of the Dark Towers when I was younger. I never thought about it in a scaling sense, what the Dark Towers truly represents. The Dark Towers, to me, at best, just surface level, best comparison I could make for my comic book guys out there is DC Comics Overlord. Kind of contains not only DC stories, but like stories in general, every idea ever, every story written, to be written, has been written, will be written, so on and so forth. All of this, it's in the Dark Towers. It's an aspect of the Dark Towers. The idea of size, what I just talked about. Point one. That point is just a room in the Dark Towers. Okay? So the Dark Towers is big. Like, I hope you guys understand why this is nuts. The Dark Towers is bigger than something that is conceptually bigger than anything that is bigger than it is. Think about that. Does your head hurt? Yes, it does. And if you're lying and you say you perfectly understand it, good for you, bro. I hope it helps you sleep at night. But like I said, that's ridiculous because it doesn't logically follow. How are you bigger than something that is always bigger? That doesn't logically follow. But alas, the Dark Towers that contains that idea is not the biggest thing in the verse. Let's talk about some of the bigger things, right? Briefly discuss them because they'll probably get their own videos down the line. If y'all want to see an individual, thorough video on these specific aspects of the verse, let me know. I'd love to do them. If this does great, I'd love to do them. Maturin, Pennywise, Crimson King, etc. Okay? They all reside outside of this Dark Towers ideas, all this. In fact, Maturin, the turtle, he who observes or watches, he is so big that he carries the Dark Towers that contains the concept of the idea of size. He carries that on his shell. All of that fits on a part of his shell. He's massively larger than the container for the idea of being larger. Absolutely nuts. Maturin is brother to Pennywise. Pennywise thinks Maturin is stupid. Now, Maturin, with the Dark Towers on his back, exists within this macroverse, okay? It's this wide open plane where it's like no rules, basically. And then this is where nothing is, everything is, something is, all that. Once you get beyond everything, once you get beyond even nothing, that's when you get to the land beyond all lands, the outlands, so to speak. The real home of true form Pennywise. So this is crazy because when Bill was getting super amped to go out and fight true form Penny, when he was discussing with Maturin how this would go, he said, look, like, can you help me when I'm out here? He said, look, don't go to Penny's home turf, because once you've gone outside of the stories, all this, the Dark Towers, cosmology, this is a land of no rules. And what I think makes that so interesting is it's quite literally true. The rules that define physics, logic, that govern normalities, reality, all these things quite literally don't matter. They don't matter here. They have no hold, no confines. The reason this is so expertly established, and I will give King credit for this, while he doesn't understand the implication of some of his scaling, he does make some interesting valid points within them, within the structure. So, for example, when we saw King making up this cosmology, making up this verse, he went through a great, deal of work establishing the fact that Penny did not play with rules. Penny, in his true form, in his real sense, he doesn't have rules. He doesn't abide by rules. He doesn't know emotion. He doesn't know rules. He doesn't know humanity. He doesn't know love, hate, all this. He's beyond that. And when he comes down to reality, when he comes down to the Dark Towers and he starts messing with things inside of it and starts messing with creation, he is now, in order to go there, he has to shrink down. He has to limit himself. To limit is to then be able to be contained and harmed. He is able to then be exposed to these concepts, these rules, these regulations, these cosmic checklist of things you have to do and abide by. He has to go by that when he subjects himself to being limited. So he does do a great job establishing that limitation does exist in the verse. But that's also what makes it so crazy, is because the idea of size shouldn't be limited. If something transcends, if something's bigger, that should exist. However, that's just a small room in the Dark Towers. And that's kind of where, it brings us to the final point, the stage 4 of the scaling, which is you can't logically scale the verse. Logic's abandoned. Now, it makes sense that logic's abandoned, given I told you Maturin said there's no logical bounds out in this game. But it's also like it's really hard. Like, I can't get mad at people that don't understand the concept of size. And it's funny because the Man in Black said he literally doesn't explain it a lot in the verse, because not many people have the mental capacity to understand what he's talking about, because it doesn't logically follow. Our brains aren't wired to think on an extra dimensional scale. We kind of think here in the now, in our perception, in our view, in our scope. takes a while to really broaden the lens, and some things are just simply impossible to truly understand. And I can't properly explain to you. I don't feel like I can. Maybe you guys understand it, but I don't feel I can properly validate and explain logically how you can be something bigger than something that will always be bigger if the idea of being bigger exists. How you can be bigger than that makes no damn sense. That's why Stephen King broke the scaling game with his verse. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you agree, his scaling's wonky. It's all out of whack. It's crazy. It changes a lot of things. It makes it OD for no reason. Let me know in the comment section below. If you think I'm making a big deal out of nothing, if you think Silver Surfer smacks the King verse, if you think Superman smacks the King verse, go ahead and make yourself happy and comment down below. I know you want to. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have heard, but I've been dealing with an injury. I put it on my community tab. I've been dealing with copyright strikes, all that, but we're pushing through. We're pumping out content. We're working hard. I'm tired, but it's going to look good. The Dante stuff you guys want to see, just so you know, it's taking a little longer because I want to do it right. I don't want to mess up the research. So that's taking a little bit of time, but we'll get it done. Anyways, guys, it's been your boy, YFV. If you like this content, please like and subscribe if you already haven't, and I will see y'all later. Peace.